YouTube. Can art touch your soul? Lock in. Unlock in real quick. YouTube. Can art touch your soul? Lock in. Simply, yeah, I think so. It's very odd. I feel like. Actually, I think if you ask anyone older, like older generations, probably might say no. But I feel like definitely younger generations will for sure say yes. Just because, I don't know, I feel like younger generations are more open to things compared to older generations. They didn't really have a grasp on things of this sort. Love the beginning so
I
far.
have this theory that how much you can describe a piece of art you like, if you put it on a graph, would resemble the law of diminishing returns. This is an economic concept with a definition: a principle stating that profits or benefits gained from something will represent a proportionally smaller gain as more money or energy is invested in it. Now, what exactly do I mean by how much you could describe a piece of art? What does that have to do with economics?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Let me explain. This is what the graph looks like in an economic context. When
Okay, okay.
trying to scale your business, at first manufacturing or selling more units of an item will be beneficial and yield more money, but this gain will slow down and you will experience diminishing returns. You eventually see negative returns, meaning that the more units you add, the less money you will make. Let's pretend for a second that the x-axis is the amount you care about a piece of art and the y-axis is the amount of words you can use to describe it. I know you can't quantify how much you care about a piece of art, but hear me out. If you watch a movie you really don't like because you felt a strong negative emotion towards it, you would use very few words to describe it. If you don't like horror movies and you are asked how you felt after watching one, you may say something like, I don't like horror movies. But if you saw a movie that was bad but had aspects you liked, you would be able to talk about it more, and why it was frustrating that those aspects weren't better. Continuing on, if we follow the trend, the peak of the graph might be something that you really enjoy and can talk a lot about for a variety of reasons. Maybe you enjoy watching Star Wars and can explain the lore in depth, but the point on the graph that I'm interested in is here, at the very end. Is it possible to be so deeply touched by something that you truly have nothing to say at all? The reason this concept came to mind.
I don't know nothing to say at all. I feel like there's definitely things that can really touch you, touch your, not touch you, pause, but can touch your feelings in a really deep way. But I feel like even still, even when something really gets you hard, like you might not be able to put it in words, but you can describe the emotion that it makes you feel, like dread or whatever it is. Like it, I think you oftentimes see that with certain songs, not certain songs, but "Lover You Should Come Over" by Jeff, if that's what it's called. I can't pronounce the last name, but that's a big song that I think many people will describe as this, where it's so like touching that they almost don't have words for it.
Mind is because when I was trying to find new songs to add to one of my playlists, Spotify recommended this song, I Sat Sana by Aphex Twin. If you haven't heard this song, I highly recommend you go listen. But every time I try to explain how strongly I feel about this song, I always come up short. The only way I've been able to describe it is that it feels like it's touching my soul. I became fascinated by this concept of a piece of art affecting me so deeply, so I pursued more music and film and art to see if anything else could affect me in this way. I wondered if something else could recreate this feeling or.
Yeah, what movies do you have that feeling like that? A big one for me, Secret Life of Walter Mitty is a really good one that had me. I really liked it, but my arguably my favorite movie was I think Into the Wild. Chad, do you guys know what I'm talking about? Yeah, I might be describing it wrong, but Into the Wild. Bro, this movie, gosh, chat words cannot put into. I guess they can a little bit, but it had me. Cause I watched this maybe junior year of high school. But man, it just had me wanting to leave, man. It affected me big, y'all. It had me just wanting to, hit the road and just never turn back, right? I highly recommend it. It's based off a real thing if you haven't seen it already. But man, that movie, y'all. I mean, I even still now, I'm still like, I have a big thing where I really can't rewatch movies for some reason. A big thing for a movie or a show is like just a first experience and not knowing what it is. I feel like majority of times I'm just not able to like shows like I've never rewatched shows chat. No, I feel like I've never. I mean, there was times where I like for Naruto the anime. That's the only one. That's the one show where I've rewatched certain episodes or certain just because of that's a show that I really enjoyed. Same thing with Avatar, the Last Airbender. I, Actually, bro, I didn't rewatch that one either. I'm not gonna hold you. I was gonna say I did, but I don't think I did, y'all.
Or if anyone else had felt this way before. And in my research, I came across this concept of aesthetic arrest. This concept, coined by James Joyce in his novel A Portrait of the Artist as a Young Man, offers one way to explain this feeling. He states, "The instant wherein that supreme quality of beauty, the clear radiance of the aesthetic image, is apprehended luminously by the mind which has been arrested by its wholeness and fascinated by its harmony, is the luminous silent stasis of aesthetic pleasure, a spiritual state very like to that cardiac condition, the enchantment of the heart." I do like this idea, but it didn't exactly echo what I was feeling about Aisat Sana. The feeling that I got while listening to it was more powerful than it was serene. However, this was one of the few examples I could find that echoed a physical feeling I felt while in this state, a literal pull in my chest and heart when he mentions a cardiac condition. This rabbit hole also led me to find Aristotle's thoughts on catharsis or catharsis, and yes, he does spell it like that. He offered that catharsis is purgation of the emotions. This sounded closer to what I felt because this mirrored the intensity, but the more reading I did, the less it sounded the same. He said it is especially prevalent in the emotions of pity and fear, and, well, those certainly weren't the emotions I was feeling, so I searched for a more psychological explanation. In doing so, I stumbled upon appraisal theory. And a quick read on Wikipedia will show you that appraisal theory is the theory in psychology that emotions are extracted from our evaluations, appraisals or estimates of events that cause specific reactions in different people. Essentially, our appraisal of a situation causes an emotional or affective response that is going to be based on that appraisal. Even though the simple explanation that is purely based on a subjective appraisal is convenient, I didn't find it satisfying. Its models also mainly have to do with stress, which didn't apply to what I was searching for. I then found an article by Kurt Weir called What Happens in the Brain When We Experience Art. The main part I find interesting about this article is that it discusses something called the aesthetic triad, which is the three brain systems that interact when having these experiences. The sensory motor system observes color and movement, the emotion valuation system involves feelings of liking something, and the knowledge meaning system involves personal experiences. The last one being especially prudent and why these experiences can feel so near to our hearts. The article ends on a more ambiguous note, with one researcher stating, "One of the most exciting things about the psychology of aesthetics is how many unanswered questions there still are, and how much room there is for more research in this space." And another saying, "When we find something aesthetically appealing, it's not just some mistake of evolution. These experiences are critical." This uncertainty reminded me of a clip I had seen of Neil deGrasse Tyson speaking about the existence of God.
I don't know the answer.
That's why I believe in God, because there has to be a superior thing out there which can answer that question. The human brain cannot answer it because they can't, because nobody knows the answer. Therefore, there has to be, does there not, logically, a superior thing which can answer that question?
Yeah, so that's not an invocation of logic. That's an invocation of what philosophers have historically called the God of the gaps. The God of the gaps is, you look at where science has yet to tread, where science has yet to figure out, and you say, wow, that's mysterious. I don't know how that works. God must have done it.
Remembering this weirdly gave me catharsis. Maybe it's okay we don't understand why we can be so overwhelmed with emotion while watching our favorite movie or listening to our favorite song. As I think about attributing my feelings to a God of the gaps when experiencing art, something that doesn't have to be logical, I think to myself, that's okay. I don't need to understand. I just need to appreciate that I can feel art the way I do. Can art touch your soul? Well,
Cliffhanger here.
I'd say so.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I agree, y'all. We can definitely, hit you on that a very personal level, for sure. That'd be a vid, y'all.